Welcome back. The search for Nancy Guthrie now entering day 10. Savannah Guthrie issued a new plea last night, begging for the public's help in finding her 84-year-old mother. Investigators are still not identifying any suspect or person of interest in this case. Fox News national correspondent Matt Finn is live on the ground in Tucson right now with the latest on the search efforts. Matt, what can you tell us? Good morning.
Good morning, Maria. That video from Savannah yesterday really begs the question of where this investigation is right now. Savannah personally pleading now to the public for any information anywhere, nationwide or even around the world. Also, the deadline for the ransom demand came and went yesterday. It expired. Our understanding is the family did not pay out. So that also makes you wonder if these ransom notes were ever legitimate or linked to the actual suspects here. And if this case is a true kidnapping, and the FBI is now saying the family is not in communication with any alleged kidnappers. The FBI writing it is not aware of any continued communication between the Guthrie family and suspected kidnappers, nor have we identified a suspect or person of interest in this case at this time. We are currently operating a 24-hour command post that includes crisis management experts, analytic support, and investigative teams, but we still need the public's help. Someone has that one piece of information that can help us bring Nancy home. We need that person to share what they know. Now, also, another notable point here, it's not clear what the second alleged note to the family said. 13 News in Tucson here reports it did get a second note last Friday, but is not releasing the details of that message out of respect for both the family and the investigation. Savannah Guthrie posted that new video by herself to Instagram yesterday. It seemed to be more personal and in her own words. She says the family is in an hour of desperation. And also, a source close to the situation clarifies to Fox that Nancy Guthrie was not expected at church the morning she went missing. Rather, she was going to watch a live stream of church. The source telling Fox on February 1st, Nancy did not arrive at her friend's house as expected to watch the live stream. Concerned, the friend contacted Annie, Nancy's daughter, and Savannah Guthrie's sister to report that Nancy had not shown up and could not be reached. And obviously, there was a lot of discussion yesterday about how discreet or untraceable Bitcoin may be. We have talked to experts. I talked to a federal prosecutor who says, once you establish that Bitcoin wallet, if you want to remove any funds from that, that's when things become traceable, that you may have to enter identification, or if you want to transfer it to currency, that's where it becomes detectable. Maria.
So really when you try to actually cash in is when it's detectable?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Matt, thank you. Matt Finn in Tucson.
Sure.
Joining me now is former Assistant FBI Director and practicing attorney Chris Swecker. Chris, thanks so much for being here. What's your reaction to what you just heard from Matt?
Good morning, Maria. Yeah, Matt, I think makes a very good point. The very dramatic contrast between the earlier family communications on the social media and the most recent one. The earlier ones were very scripted, and they were talking to the kidnappers exclusively. Now she is personally, individually, in her own words, trying to address the public and trying to shake loose some leads from the public. And that, it's remarkable that the investigators are not doing that themselves. They've been sort of silent for the last couple of days. So you have to wonder whether she's doing this on her own or whether she's doing this with the support and advice of the FBI, which is, I think, not taking the lead in the investigation, but now playing a very large, outsized role in this investigation. By the way, if we're not for the celebrity aspect of this, the FBI would have no jurisdiction in a case like this.
Yeah, no, I assumed that's why the FBI took this lead role. I mean, I'm happy that the FBI took this role. I was expecting the FBI to crack the case by now. I mean, what about that? And Chris, in cases like this, do investigators typically ask family members to take a polygraph test? And have any of Nancy Guthrie's family members done that?
Yeah, I mean, they have to rule out the family, and unfortunately, it's playing out in a very public way here. The press is just micro-analyzing everything. They see everything. There are drones in the air. So I think by now they probably have. I mean, some of those boxes that have been going into the house, the sister's house, may well have been polygraph equipment. And, you know, it would be logical to do that. And if you had nothing to hide, there'd be no reason not to take a polygraph test. I'm not big on polygraph tests because I think they're more of an investigative tool than they are a tool to tell whether you're really telling the truth. When people see that box there and all the technology behind it, they often tend to tell you things. It's like truth serum. So I think they're doing everything they can to rule out the family, but again, it's playing out in a very public way. But they're also running out other tracks as well. And you pointed out their capabilities, the FBI's capabilities are immense. I think the video is still going to play a role in this. When I say the video, I mean video outside the neighborhood. There's a very narrow time frame where the kidnappers or the bad guys, if you will, left that house at 2 something in the morning, and at some point that neighborhood empties out into a commercial area where there is a lot of video. So they've got that to work with. I think it takes a while to sort through and correlate that information with self-traffic and other data, forensic data from devices and that sort of thing. I think eventually you get a solution, but you know, the clock's ticking here.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, after 10 days, how do we know that Nancy Guthrie is actually safe? And, you know, a lot of people have made a point of pointing out that the perpetrator was in her house for 41 minutes. We know that from when the Ring camera was taken down to when the pacemaker stopped connecting. So what about that? And what path do you think the FBI is on right now to either trace who has Nancy Guthrie or perhaps try to track the footsteps of like the DNA in the blood?
Right. I mean, we have forensic genealogy these days. If they got a viable DNA sample inside the house or anywhere around the house or wherever, that has led to a lot of solutions. You know, fingerprints obviously haven't hit. CODIS hasn't hit. When I say CODIS, that's a DNA database that the FBI maintains for people who've been arrested and given up a DNA sample. So, we don't even know whether they got a viable DNA sample out of the house. So, you know, usually at this point, you know, that you have something breaks loose.
Right.
And you have a car, you have a tag, you have DNA, forensic genealogy, fingerprints, something hits.
Right.
Or someone, you know, weak link in the conspiracy, if there is one, somebody comes forward.
It's unbelievable. And that's a point that Dan Bongino made last night on Fox, former assistant director at FBI, now back at Fox. Here's what he said. Watch.
They have these criminal skill sets that they were able to not leave a trace of DNA, a footprint, a fingerprint, a tire print. Again, they didn't trip a license plate reader, managed to turn off any cell phone type of activity. And then you forget the medication. It just, again, it doesn't seem like that's particularly well thought out. I think we have to consider everything outside the box because whatever's inside the box is not really panning out right now.
Well, I mean, this is quite extraordinary, Chris, that nothing was left in terms of evidence, in terms of a footprint. How is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, there's an old saying that every criminal leaves something at a crime scene and takes something away. You know, they're dropping hairs and fibers, fingerprints, DNA at the scene, and if they're close contact with a victim, they take some of that victim's hairs and fibers and bodily fluids with them when they leave. Footprints, you name it. And it's just, you know, we don't know what they collected at the house. You know, originally the sheriff was he put too much information out there and often had to walk the information back or try to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Yeah. That's closed down. I think they've closed him down pretty carefully. So we really don't know what they collected out of the house or anywhere else for that matter inside the sister's house. But I do think technology still plays a role here. Video, I go back to video, in this day and age, somewhere somebody left that neighborhood in a car and it got captured on video somewhere in that commercial area outside the residence. It takes a long time to correlate that information and speed review through all of that. And you really can't speed review through all that video now because you don't know what you're looking for at this point, so you have to do it very slowly and manually. And the FBI sort of got in here late in the game. There's a little bit of friction there. The sheriff was sort of stiff-armed him in the beginning.
Yeah.
That didn't help matters much. But there'll be a solution. It's just that, with her medical condition, I think we have definitively closed the door on the ransom demands being connected to her disappearance. I think her plea to the general public, Savannah's plea to the general public, kind of slammed the door on the would-be kidnappers if they even existed.
Wow. Well, that's something to watch. Chris, thank you so much. We appreciate you weighing in here. Chris Swecker. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Maria.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.